goes up, then it takes a little while for the poroelastic properties of the crust to, you know, squeeze down. So it's out about by 7 hours or something like that. But they can use that then to figure out what the poroelastic properties of the rock, the crust are, and then make models on what the crust is made out of.
And Steve, you do have a fan and at least one of our viewers.
Somebody agrees with me on.
Or are we going back to living fossils?
I can't remember which one. Where are we at now?
This is specifically the rant. They like your expertise more than social media.
This is social media.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't this social media? It's like social media with some qualifications.
With some qualifications, yeah.
Well,
some antisocial elements.
No one can see my degree or anything like that. I may not be qualified.
You have a bio on OET. They can be looking it up.
Oh, it's old.
Slap wrist.
So we're at 2,000
So
meters.
we've almost done our 1,000 meter vertical transect. We're about halfway.
We're about halfway through the first.
We've gone about 600 meters. What are we doing?
Bjorn, you want to sit down here and make a couple of comments? You have some Norwegian friends online, I think, or were. You did. They could have been Finnish. The Bjorn Club. Wasn't that it? Adrienne?
Yeah, he had a couple people wanting to.
I was looking to see if it was open.
There was an entire club, wasn't there? The Bjorn Club?
I don't know. I overheard it when I was in the lounge that he had a fan base.
It was there was an entire club. The Bjorn Cubs. That's right, the Bjorn Cubs.
So on this view of the vertical transect, how do you, how long is it going to take for them to go through all of these images and decide what they're seeing? Because most of this looks like a bunch of white dots.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? So how do we make that less white dots and more identifiable creatures? I mean, they won't get anything, like for this shot, I don't know what you'd be able to find. But a couple times, so there's something going by that's identifiable.
Yeah.
By someone who knows what it is, but I don't know what it is. That could be a copepod there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And there's a little jelly. I mean, the whole idea there, if we could get it like a plane laser going through there and just sort of focus on that one sort of panel, then you could probably use some machine learning to to find the animals.
Okay.
So there could be some people playing. I mean, some of this data is used by, you know, the computer science folk to try to get an algorithm or a machine learning code that'll try to figure out what's what. But you always need to have then a version that you know you can compare against. So someone will have to look at it. And you know, it's a good practice for students. So there is a base of, you know, good computers called students that can do it. And also you could easily try to put it out for, you know, citizen science. Although this one, I don't know. Oh, there's.
Is that a fish or something?
Yeah, I mean, but that's how hard it is. It's
Yeah.
not an easy. That's why.
So will someone pour through this video, taking, you know, frame by frame pictures and trying to identify as much as they can in it, or are they going to go through it as fast as we're going through it and just log things as they see them?
We do have some awesome shore loggers. We have Nadia and Drew on shore, and we also have Mo looking, trying to identify the biology as we go up. But I imagine, yeah, Fabio would probably like to watch this when we have it all ingested, and yeah, he might watch it a little bit slower or pause the frame to see if he can identify some things as well.
So those of you watching online, send us your questions so that we can come up with topics of conversation. Let's keep the conversations going, and it relies on you. One of our viewers Googled the hagfish slime accident, and it's the best thing they've ever seen. I'm sure that's not what the people who experienced it are saying. You know, when you have some mishap at home, you know, afterwards you can laugh about it. I'm not sure that I would ever, if that were me in the accident, I'm not sure I'd be able to laugh at it later.
Yeah, Oregon gets all the good accidents. We were just talking about the other one where they blew up a
the whale. Yeah.
Only in Oregon.
That wasn't an accident, though.
No.
Yeah, that wasn't an accident.
That was a real thing. The result wasn't what they expected, but...
Yep.
But it was the thing we needed to learn. We now know what not to do. I believe that's what it says at the very end.
I think that's one of those things that you could have made a reasonable assumption and not done it.
For you? No, just keep it going for the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, he can pull it out. He can.
What? Did I say something?
So we've got a question if any of us are scuba divers and where your favorite place to dive is. Any of us good at getting out?
I dive, but I don't do nearly enough of it.
Yeah, I dove, but I haven't been diving in a decade.
Super fun snorkeling above my, at the time, 12-year-old son while he was learning to scuba dive. That was fun.
Hello. I just realized with the help of my coworkers that I've been speaking to myself in this corner for about 5 minutes now.
That's cool.
I'm a diver, and my favorite place that I've ever dove is a shipwreck off the coast of Gibraltar.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Which one?
I can't remember the name.
How far off Gibraltar?
I was like, I've been there.
Don't know that either. I can check with my friend. Maybe she remembers.
I have dove, but I only have dove in like warmer climates, so I haven't done any cold water diving.
Where it's nice.
Yeah. Most of my diving has been in Hawaii.
There is
Hawaii and Costa Rica, so.
There is a dive in the southwest of the UK, which is one of the old Liberty ships from World War II. Very accessible, and it's quite spectacular. The James Egan Lane. That's a really good dive, but might be a bit cold for Tammy.
Yeah, a little bit.
You need a dry suit, even in summer.
When I was younger, I had a 140-degree rule. If the water temp and air temp didn't add up to over 140 Fahrenheit, then just wasn't worth it going in.
I didn't dive personally, but in I did a documentary on the shipwrecks of Lake Union, and so we had some divers that every weekend they dive there to look at the different wrecks or do different work and historic society work.
Yeah.
And so they, seeing some of their footage and like the dives they have done and different things, that was really, really cool.
We've done some work with divers in the Catalina Island area, and they were cave divers, and I saw some of that footage, and that's the, well, I'll push the tank through, and then I'll wiggle myself through.
Oh, no.
You know, and that's not for me.
No, thank you.
Somebody I went to high school with, their dad is like the expert on one of the local caves for cave diving, and now well retired, he still gets like the phone call of, we need you to go and find somebody.
Oh, jeez.
Apparently the wreck that I did was the SS Roslyn off Gibraltar. So
The SS Roslyn.
yeah.
Okay.
Shout out to Leah Lorenko in Ontario for remembering.
My grandma started scuba diving at 73 years old.
Awesome.
And she was able to go on over 350 dives all over the world. She joined the senior ladies dive club, and they would just take these cruises that would go all over the world, except for cold places. She avoided any place cold, so she hasn't been diving in the Arctic or Antarctic, but in the next 10 years, she logged over 350 dives and just went everywhere. And you know, she made sure all of her grandkids, including me, did get scuba certified, and so we were able to take a reunion in 2000 down. and just go diving every day as a family. It was awesome.
That sounds amazing.
The only problem was getting certified in Oregon meant that I was a very young teenager, and we had to wear a 7mm wetsuit so that we could get in the water and not freeze to death.
Yep.
And we were penguins. We couldn't bend anything to get in the water. And we had to climb over these huge boulders to get down into the jetty to get under the water. And it was awful. But it worked.
Worth it in the end. Tobermory, Ontario is another amazing dive spot. There are a lot of shipwrecks there, and the water looks like you're somewhere tropical, but it's extremely cold. Nice and crystal blue, clear waters.
Flower Pot Islands.
Yeah.
My little brother lives in Tobermory, Ontario.
Oh, nice.
It's a pretty sweet spot.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Kind of gets overrun with tourists and divers in the summer.
In the summer now, yeah.
That's cool. Whatever that was.
It was a thing. With
Sea
legs.
spider?
Spidey thing.
Sea spider.
Sea spider.
So
Of no relation to land spiders.
Except
well,
my name.
distantly. They're all arthropods.
It's true, but they're not spiders in the sense of a land spider.
Not arachnids.
Yeah.
They're not arachnids. So someone says the old ship engine used to have a mythical name like Thor or something. They're asking if the new engine has a name.
It takes like time and to get a mythical name. You can't just get a mythical name in a year or two.
Time,
It's not
bad behavior.
it's not given, it's earned.
Yeah.
You earn your name. So you have to be loud and obnoxious and
Break down a
rumbly
lot,
to be
yeah.
Thor. And break down a lot. This guy seems pretty mild-mannered so far. Hasn't done anything wrong yet.
What's that?
But apparently it's much smaller than Thor.
Yeah. Yeah, much smaller than Thor.
much smaller. Let's not jinx it, though.
Yeah.
Not
You know?
strong, not sizes and everything.
Good head of the engine room say, hey, if you want a name, you got to start acting up.
Yeah.
Well, the other one didn't even act up. It was just what it did. It was like it wasn't acting up. It was
just loud.
yeah.
Loud and proud.
It was a 2-cycle.
Yeah, it was a 2-cycle 5-cylinder. It was basically a giant tractor engine. 5 cylinders in line. You could sit down inside one of the cylinders. I was doing work on this boat for DFO just before ONC one year, and there was a noise that you just don't want to hear. And very quickly, within less than 10 seconds, they shut down the entire engine. A fuel pump had exploded. And it took them less than 24 hours to re-sleeve the engine, regrind the piston, install a new fuel pump, and run it through 12 hours of testing.
Wow.
And we were back in business.
I was on for that as well.
Yeah,
That's fast.
Stunning.
that was one of those times where it's just, you know, when the engineers knew that engine to a T. But also, if they hadn't shut it down that quickly, it would have been a longer process to fix.
What happened to Thor?
Thor got retired.
But
like what actually happened?
Yeah, what
from what I
are they
hear,
gonna do? Is
Thor is in a large pasture area, you know, room to graze. Went out to the farm.
State has a nice community.
Yeah. No, I have no idea.
Make a pretty good anchor, I guess.
It would probably make a good anchor. Yeah, Thor was named as such because it was a giant two-stroke that would cause your half-filled coffee mug to walk its way off of the table.
Yeah,
And if you were asleep and leaning against like the wall of your bunk and they turned on Thor, you were lovingly, you know, jarred awake by the wall hitting you in the head over and over.
But then again, as soon as the engine was off, everyone's emerging. What's wrong? What's happening?
Yeah, as soon as the engine's off. Yeah.
So we're getting some diving recommendations. So there's one in Honduras, the Roytan Islands, and I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce this one, but I'm going to try. Revilla Gigetto Islands.
Oh, off of Mexico? We went there. We dove the vehicles there. They made it into like a huge, huge national marine sanctuary as a result, or like massively expanded
South or West Coast?
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah.
Ooh, an ROV question. Would you like to explore a sinkhole with the ROV?
Like a sinkhole on land or just like a hole in the bottom of the seafloor?
I would assume it would have to be in the seafloor in order to get the ROV there.
Well, the reason I ask, I almost worked with a group that was developing a vehicle to go into a flooded mine and navigate that. So they had to deal with like, you couldn't use magnets for anything, and the water was caustic. So, you know, that adds to the fun of the whole experience. I don't know. There's the risk there is having things over the top of the vehicle, right? So if anything goes wrong, you aren't going to float up any higher than the thing above you.
On one occasion, the Ropos kids flew the vehicle into a collapse. Explain like geologically.
Oh, like the lava collapses?
A fault,
yeah.
And a fault, and the lava fills up a bowl, and then you get a drain out where the lava drains back into the fault, but it leaves this like 4-inch thick skin.
Right, and sometimes you get a break there,
and it looks like seafloor. You land the vehicle on it and punch through, and now you're in the collapse. And we explored on inside a collapse once. It was sketchy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I've done inside a collapse before.
Looks like a parking garage because there's these
there's
these columns everywhere that are holding the roof up. I'm not sure.
That's super.
Oh, this one was a dome. You know, it was like, and the seafloor was flat, but underneath it was like a dome bubble.
I think the only explanation I can think of for the columns is that while the lava is still in a liquid state, there's seeps. So you end up with these stone columns. When we get underneath the collapse, it just looks like a parking garage. Sketchy place to fly.
Yeah.
So you guys described the old engine. What's the new engine like?
I don't know much about the new engine. I think it's a diesel electric, so it's a generator and driving a big electric motor. I could be wrong though, so.
It does sound like that. There's always a steady, you can't really, yeah, it goes at one speed.
Yeah, you can't guess speed based on the sound.
Just wave action. We're moving or we're bobbing.
Yeah, I think they had to add ballast to the ship when they removed Thor.
That's a big deal, changing the engines out. Holy smokes. Yeah. Where did they go in?
Mexico, someplace in Mexico.
Oh, I mean, into the ship. You'd have surely had to cut a hole in the boat somewhere, yeah?
Yeah. I think they might have come out the stack.
Yeah,
right.
Through the stack, that's right.
Through the stack, okay.
Because there's a, if you walk up front of this van, there's a massive stack, and that's hollow all the way through down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's convenient.
I don't know if it still is, but it was hollow all the way down.
I've been on boats where they've had to change out bearings on thrusters and stuff like that. And literally no other choice but to cut a big hole in hole in the deck. Yeah.
So does that mean the props and jets are all electric?
But I know that the bow thruster and the jet pump are all electric.
Most modern vessels, the engines will be nothing more than a big generator, and you'll have huge battery banks that store the energy, and then the power is then transferred to the propellers by electric motors. Yeah.
So I missed a question a while ago, but or I was staying on topic for some of the questions we had, but another question is, what is the most incredible thing to know about bioluminescent species?
I mean, the fact that they make their own light is pretty incredible. But I really don't know much about bioluminescent species. I can appreciate them, but that's it.
Yeah, and going down with an RV can be quite disruptive for the wildlife. So I think there's still a lot that we don't know about bioluminescent species in general too. Maybe one day we could turn off the lights for a few hours and see what we could find.
Well, you're going to have to use a low light camera because this camera is not set up really to deal with that kind of.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We've done that before with a low light camera. There's a researcher who comes out, Dr. Brennan Phillips. You give him the title he deserves.
Yep.
And he's been working to develop depth-rated low-light cameras specifically to study bioluminescence.
Very cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
What's he using? Like an old set camera? Like
I don't know.
Silicon?
I don't know.
It's pretty much impossible to get one of those now, isn't it?
I don't think you can, yeah.
I stopped making the tubes for them.
Long time ago, yeah. Low light CCDs now, isn't it? Which are pretty good. Some of them are pretty good. You don't get that ghosting with them. They don't burn, image burn as badly.
I'm gonna borrow this.
Do what you need to do, man.
Just gonna fire the arm up for a moment.
Boom. With a bang. Breakfast is approaching. You can smell the bacon outside.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
It was on a ship that ran out of bacon. They also ran out of eggs.
Yeah, I've been on a ship that ran out
milk.
of eggs.
It was, yeah. It was...
What do you do? Become healthy.
No, we had somebody deliver.
I was on a ship that messed up their customs declaration and had to give away all their eggs because they wouldn't pay off the local authorities.
Right, I mean, that's the real statement, is that,
Yeah.
you know, messed up there. I sailed on the same boat through the same waters with two different captains, one who understood how things worked in a lot of the countries and one who didn't.
Who had their own ideas, yeah.
And God, like the way we were treated was just so different.
Yeah, of course.
So different.
Yeah.
Yeah, we one time they had messed up the order, and it was just like miscommunication at the port. They thought that we were ordering one thing, the chefs thought they were ordering X, and we ended up with way too much food. They thought they ordered like 50 Jell-O packets. They ordered 50 flats of Jell-O packets.
Oh my God.
The cheese they thought was like, you know, like a regular block of cheese. They were 1 pound blocks of cheese. And
Oh, look at that.
so we just had a ton of extra food. And so then on the company didn't want to declare for it or pay any customs for coming back into the States, and we spent 2 days just offloading food off of the ship.
Oof.
Yeah. And the worst part of it was there was all this stuff that we offloaded. We were like, we never saw this. We never got to eat this once. It looks delicious.
That sucks.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened, but they're just like bringing up stuff for us to offload, and there was like,
like
half shell oysters.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, and
What?
you know, like frozen mangoes and just all this stuff, and we were like, we never got any of this.
That's upsetting.
When you're all sailing out of the United States, though, it's kind of funny because everybody orders from Cisco. So you can compare with friends on other boats. You're like, yeah, we're eating the exact same meal tonight. How is your tuxedo dessert? Oh, it was good, delicious. Yeah, we had so much cheese. They pulled a prank on one of the new oiler. They used cheese to block up his door. This is how much cheese we had to wall off his door. And then it was just the crew on board. And so the captain did a unscheduled fire drill. Everyone knew except for the oiler.
Right.
Turns out that the sound in that cabin, the alarm just doesn't get there, and that's what we learned, because he didn't get up.
The sound was blocked by all the cheese, probably.
All this elaborate preparation for a prank that goes...
Seems like that's a bit of a problem.
Pretty sure it was cheese insulation.
Cheese insulation, yeah. You can see the incident report now, can't you?
What is the R factor of cheese?
I think it depends on if it's a Swiss
Inca safety flash. We're being kicked out.
Kicked out or allowed breakfast? So I've been reading up on the bioluminescence since we had one viewer ask about it, and there's apparently a railroad worm, which is one of the few animals that actually has 2 different colors of bioluminescence. So it's actually the larva of a beetle, and it has the head will glow red while the body will glow green.
So neat.
And this is marine?
No, this is on land. It's a beetle.
Oh.
It's the larva of a beetle.
We just passed a whale. Did you guys see it? Might have been a dolphin. Or a shark.
On the camera?
No, it was in the sonar.
Oh.
Thus leaving something to the imagination.
We all missed it.
We all missed it because we're in this incredibly dark van.
Yeah, that
with
would
no
be it.
windows.
It was a definite bright blip on the sonar.
Apparently the vampire squid can eject a sticky bioluminescent mucus to startle, confuse, and delay predators.
Gross.
Yeah, it's not as much mucus as the hagfish, though. So I think we're still in the realm of not completely horrible.
Just a little bit gross.
Yeah. So, well, and the nice thing about, having your mucus be bioluminescence, then it's glowing and you're not glowing. I know that there's some shrimp, some little red shrimp that'll also throw up bioluminescent goop. And I remember a video saying that the goal with the shrimp is that, then if their predator goes through the mucus that is bioluminescing, then they're lit up for their predator to see them better. So it's actually a way for the shrimp to get rid of their predators.
Wow, that's clever.
Whether the shrimp thought through all of this when it was throwing up or not, who knows? But a lot of animals use bioluminescence as counter illumination. So if you were if you're at the bottom of a swimming pool and you look up, you can see the shadow that a lot of animals or that other people can create when you're over top of them. So their goal is to eliminate that shadow. And they have some sort of a sensor on top of their head that reads how much light is above them, and they will feed the bacteria inside their gut to create this exact amount of light that is underneath them as well, so that they don't create that shadow as they're moving.
That is incredible. Wow.
So
smart.
Incredibly smart.
Is it smart? I mean, do they think?
They do it
well. Maybe smart's not the right word.
Evolved.
Biologically
complex.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got some more, I think, boat questions. They're asking for information about the suction pump setup. They say it's a Venturi pump. What kind of pump makes it the high pressure water for the pump? Is it a piston or a centrifugal?
It's impeller, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a hydraulic pump running what's basically a impeller pump. Centrifugal pump, I would guess.
What is the typical power consumption?
About 5 gallons a minute if it's on full, which could equate roughly to 5 horsepower. I forget the specifications on how much water it's moving at that full speed. It's the hydraulic pump is, our hydraulic motor in this case, is run off a servo valve off of one of Hercules valve packs, so we can control the speed of the pump. So if we're, typically the dredge is hooked up to our suction sampler system, which is a rotisserie of jars that we pick up anything from bacterial mat to shrimp with, if we can catch them. So we can control how much water's going through the suction sampler hose depending on what kind of what we're picking up. Pick up snails and clams and pieces of coral and basically anything that would fit in your vacuum hose. And those go into a jar that has different kind of media for filters for the water going through the jar. So depending on what the scientists want, there's like a coarse mesh media, which is kind of like expanded metal, to probably our finer stuff is closer to the screen on your window at your home. And we have some superfine stuff that's kind of like cheesecloth, and some of the scientists like to depending on what they're sampling, the sample will get stuck on the cloth, and we can't even see it, but they can look at it under a microscope or do DNA analysis on it. The Venturi pump itself, I don't know a whole lot about. That was designed and built by ONC. It's basically a 1 inch or 3/4 inch tube, and with a 2 inch tube coming into it at a 90-degree angle. So we pass water really fast through the small tube, and that creates our suction on the big tube. Some guy, what's his name? Bernoulli? Has been mentioned. I thought his name was Venturi, but
that was Bernoulli's cousin.
oh yeah.
So we have a viewer asking if there's any Caribbean live feeds. Are there any research vessels out in the Caribbean doing research that we can watch the live feeds for?
Something going on with those core samples. Pretty much right up to the hose clamp.
That's how they always do it for Fabio.
You'll overfill them. They have a tendency to self-destruct on the way up.
Sorry, Tammy, I missed that.
That looks better, doesn't it?
Apparently there's actually a lot of research on the bioluminescence. There's a lot of, they've actually seen sperm whales and some sharks and such that will look for bioluminescent plankton and then watch the fish eat the plankton and then eat the fish. So even though the fish are not bioluminescing, they're being affected by their prey species, which are calling out for help essentially.
I don't know why I just pictured like a little plankton or whatever screaming, be like, help, help, to like an older brother or something.
Yeah, basically that seems to be what it is. And then older brother comes in and eats the prey, or
Yeah.
predator. Another neat thing I'd like to go do sometime is to see the when the dinoflagellates are glowing, and when it washes up on the beach, you get that blue haze on the beach. There's also pictures of people going kayaking, and around their kayak it all kind of turns blue.
Yeah, I've seen those. That's really cool.
That's definitely on my list of things to go and see. We did a night dive in Mexico, and when you get down to the water, you get to a spot where you can actually like sit, and then you turn off all lights, and then you just kind of wave your hand in front of your face, and there's these little tiny blue dots that come up. It's really neat.
Oh,
But I
cool.
haven't seen it in high concentrations, and that's one of my goals. And those are the little tiny dinoflagellates.
Yeah, deflect the wash.
Another use of bioluminescence is brittle stars. They can actually make their arms glow. And then if they get attacked by something, they can actually just detach an arm and crawl away while that bioluminescing arm is getting eaten.
Sneaky, sneaky.
Sneaky, sneaky. It's like, I'll regrow that. It's okay.
Yeah.
You take that. The sea cucumber can also do that. They'll break off the bioluminescent parts of their bodies and they'll set them on like a fish. And then that fish is glowing as it goes away and the sea cucumber can stay in the dark and crawl away. So Steve, we have a question about this marine snow and what we're seeing on the camera. So how much of this is marine snow, like the bits of things that have died from the surface, and how much of it is still things that are like crawling around?
The real answer is I don't know, but my stab is that it's mostly stuff, real stuff that's alive and moving around. I don't think this is, usually when marine snow, I mean, if we stopped, it has a steady kind of sort of fall. And often it's, detritus that for some reasons that I'm not fully sure of tends to flock together. So they're like little flock particles. But I would think a lot of this is you can see they're moving. I mean, they're moving, but the pink stuff obviously is your standard crunchy little euphausids or something like that. And if you look at the other guys, so the larger objects are not likely a flock of marine detritus, but it probably animals like copepods and euphausids, because there is some sort of strange migratory pattern even with them based on their longer life cycle, so they tend to go up and down. But yeah, I'm looking at the screen myself right now. And anybody else in the room? Mo, maybe? Mo's a pro. Mo's a pro. What do you think?
Oh, am I on? Okay, hi.
Yeah. I'm babbling on incoherently after my 11th hour or so, whatever it is now.
What was the question?
Well, whether what we're seeing on the screen is mostly marine snow or is it actual critters? And they look like critters to me mostly. I mean, they're not. We are thrusting up, I guess. Is that correct, Dan? We're still full.
Correct, yeah.
So we are causing some turbulence around
14 meters a minute.
I would think
I'd say it's a mix of both.
You see that guy's running?
The bigger stuff that I can see actually swimming, well, those are zooplankton, but I can't tell the difference between.
Oh wait, we got up to 14. So we're no longer in a transect at all anymore if we're past 10, right?
That's
correct.
True.
So Dan, do you have any idea when you went past 10? Because that should have been noted to the data logger to let them know the transect had ended.
Thanks, Tammy. I thought 10 was our max speed, so I didn't even think to ask.
I thought we were transecting all the way to the surface.
Then you should have stayed at 10 if we're transecting all the way up.
Oh, well, I guess I got a demerit point for
You can't go past 10 on a transect.
We're doing 14 now.
Okay, I'm gonna log the, Dan, do you have an idea of when that might have happened? I'll log the end.
But we'll keep the camera in the same thing. It's not hurting anything, and 14 is not as good as 10, but often 14 is 10 is what I'm trying to. It's 10 plus or minus something.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
That'll,
and keep on going as fast as you can, because we've got more concerns. And
so
yeah, we do.
Steve, should I log the end of the transect then?
I would log, annotate the transect by the fact that we're going 14.
Just say we're going, don't end it, but just say we're going 14. Okay,
Yeah.
Sounds good.
If you look on the Grafana page, you can get that detailed information, or it will also be in the it'll also be in the logs.
Yeah,
exactly what the speed up.
The deliverables.
I didn't see it in Grafana.
But it'll be in the deliverables that you guys send us. You'll definitely give us the pressure, and we'll definitely have the time, and that'll give us the speed.
Post-processing.
Yes.
Wasn't the
That's what,
vertical
isn't that what grad
transect?
students are for, Steve?
Say again?
Isn't that what grad students are for? Or undergrad students? How is that these days?
For processing this?
All the post-processing, yeah.
I have no idea what Fabio. I know we were talking about this before, and Lori said something about Fabio would be looking at it, and I'm thinking, I don't think Fabio's going to be looking at this.
No, that's mostly done by our team, by the data stewardship team.
You guys look at this? No.
Well, I don't know about this specifically, but we
Who's looking at them? Who in your?
I mean, maybe not.
Oh, look at
Oh,
that!
yeah.
Jellyfish.
Like the vertical transect was supposed to be the bottom 1,000 meters, so technically it was over 300 meters ago.
Oh, yeah,
Technically.
Yeah. So basically, this transect was specifically for the straw, experiment, and then there is a graduate student, and I've just forgotten her name, and she will be probably looking at it, or having colleagues looking at it. And the other big use of this is to try to develop machine learning tools to be able to do the work. But it's as you can tell, whoever's watching from home, you're not, you're either trying to get to sleep by watching this, or
they actually have some brilliant machine learning tools, and they I saw a presentation on what was it? Forget what boat. They were doing a yo-yo. So they had a yo-yo thing, and they were analyzing some kind of spawn of some kind of crab that floats in the water column.
Yeah.
And they would yo-yo through these spawns, and they would create a 3D map, a 3D model of the spawn. So they were getting it was right at the thermocline, so that all the little baby crabs would kind of float on top of in the thermocline there, where where it goes from one water temperature to the other. Is that the right word? Thermocline?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was really cool, the model they got. So the yo-yo would bounce through as the ship went along at X, a certain speed. And they were using some stereo cameras and machine learning to identify what they